Welcome to the Double Dribble Podcast with Dubin and Doc Heald. That's Jared Dubin, author of Last Night in Basketball. Make sure you're checking out his newsletter. You subscribe to all those fun things. I'm Mo DeKeel, former video coordinator with the Clippers and Spurs. Write for Bleacher Report. I have some stuff coming down the pipeline here pretty soon. And Jared, big news, and I know you know all about this. We have a YouTube page.
We did it. Finally. It only took us, 25 episodes or something like that.
And
show up on YouTube.
And when you say we did it, I go, no, you did it. I just didn't really do much except try to put it up on YouTube. So, folks, you can check us out on YouTube as well as listening to the podcast. Just the Double Dribble Podcast. You're going to be able to find it on YouTube. It's not very hard with everything that you have. And more importantly, or just as importantly, as you have to do on YouTube, subscribe, rate, review, continue to leave reviews, continue to leave comments. We're seeing them. We're checking it out. I appreciate everybody that's rocking with us. Keep doing it. We're building this from the ground up, and we need to get those reviews. Remember, guys, I want 1 million reviews by the time the season starts.
Yeah, we're how many percent of the way there? I don't know, but not that close to enough.
I set the standard very high, or set the bar, very high.
We're creeping up into the few hundreds, so that's nice. We'll get up there, around. Hopefully, we can get to 500 or something like that by opening night, and then we'll go to 1 million.
Yeah, then straight to 1 million. Okay, fine. I jumped the gun. 500 reviews, folks. Please help us out. Again, continue to support all the stuff. Support Jared's work with Last Night in Basketball. And we got some stuff to talk about. Listen, we can't control when the news breaks. And I think it was like literally 20 minutes after I finished kind of producing the podcast, was uploading the podcast, and we got the news that De'Aaron Fox had signed an extension with the San Antonio Spurs. We decided we don't need to do an emergency podcast. We will just leave it to the next episode, and that's where we're at now. He got a max extension with the Spurs. I've already forgotten the numbers, but it's the max that he could have signed for. I believe it's a 5-year deal, no player options, no team options. It's a straight 5-year deal.
It's a 4-year, $229 million extension, I believe.
4 years, excuse me. 4 years. So, Jared, what were your thoughts just off the bat with the extension?
My first thought was, that's a whole lot of money. Then my thought was, let's go look up the percentage of the cap, because every contract is a whole lot of money, and everybody freaks out about, the sheer dollar amount. And, it's a max extension for what he can sign. Not surprising. We knew that they were going to hand him this extension when they traded for him. We knew that they were going to pay him essentially through, I guess that takes you through most of Wemby's second contract, which, again, we knew that this was their plan. And I think it's perfectly fine. Like, is he worth $55.5 million a year or whatever it is? Maybe, maybe not. Probably not. But he's a very good point guard. You want to have a very good point guard with, your all-world caliber center. They clearly brought him in for a reason, and it's fine. Like, I don't hate it. I don't think it's the greatest deal in the history of the world. I don't think it's horrible, and the point where, it's going to be an albatross weighing them down. And I think that in a couple of years, if they decide, you know what, we're ready with Stephon Castle and Dylan Harper as our, backcourt of the future, and we want to move on from Fox, I think it'll be movable.
Yeah, I think that's the thing everybody's sort of missing a little bit about this deal, is that this is the Spurs kind of threading two timelines. And I'm going to say this again. Spurs threading two timelines again. They're probably the only organization that has successfully done this over the course of their time, from David Robinson to Tim Duncan to Manu and Tony. Manu and Tony to Kawhi to a degree. That didn't work out, obviously, as well as they had hoped, but they did win a championship in the process of all of that, so I think that matters. We're going to get centered now that we're on YouTube. People could see the cameras and that I was off-centered there. I think this is just their attempt of, hey, we're going to pay De'Aaron Fox. We made this trade. We knew we were going to do it. Obviously, I think things would have been a little bit different if you told them in the future, like, hey, you're going to get the number 2 pick in this draft. Maybe they wouldn't have traded for Fox, but they did already. They're committed to the pairing. We only got 5 games of Wemby and Fox. We don't fully know how it's going to work out. But I think the idea of it for them in terms of the way the Spurs are looking at it is, hey, we're going to have him in the fold. We're going to compete. We're going to try to win games. And in the meantime, can Dylan Harper step up to the point where, like, once we're ready, once Harper steps to the point where we feel he's capable, we're going to get off this contract one way or another. And I think that's kind of the viewpoint of it. And I think that's where they're at. And I don't have a problem with the deal.
Yeah, I would also note it's not even necessarily 2 timelines. Like, Fox is 27 years old.
This is old in the NBA.
Yeah, it essentially takes him through his prime to, like, maybe the start of the decline phase at 31 or 32 years old, which tends to be when guys start to decline these days. You should get the best of De'Aaron Fox over the next 4 or 5 years. And that's really, really good. You know, he's been like a borderline all-star kind of player a few different times when he's been in his, you know, pre-prime years. Now you should be getting like the best basketball of his career over the next several years. He has obviously an elite running mate in Wemby, and you're getting, again, like, in the ramp up, like, young guards don't always reach, you know, their primes until like their early 20s. This ramp up over the next few years, while Castle and Dylan Harper are getting to be the best version of themselves, you're going to get high level point guard play during that time while they're progressing and hopefully becoming the players that you want them to be.
Yeah, so I like where they're at kind of when you look at their cap situation. We know obviously things are going to change once Wemby becomes eligible and signs the Supermax extension and all that stuff. They're managing themselves well for the most part for the future so that they'll have a little versatility. I think this was a good deal. I think you want to go into training camp. I think you want to go into the season. Everybody in a good mood. This is the year I think the Spurs want to make that run of, like, we're not a lottery team. Knock on wood. Good health across the board. They don't want to be a lottery team. They want to ascend. You know, their floor for them is probably the play-in, but they want to be a playoff team at the end of this. And I think that's kind of what they're looking to be. And I think this is a good step in that direction. This is one of the reasons why we didn't do an emergency podcast. I don't have much else to add to it. I don't know how you feel. Do you have more you want to kind of drop in on there?
No, I think what you said about their cap sheet is true. Like, Keldon Johnson has this year and next year. And other than that, the only guys really under contract beyond next season are the guys that are on rookie scale deals and Devin Vassell. And Devin Vassell is on a deal that this year and next year pays him $27 million. Then it drops down in what would be, I believe, the first year of Wemby's extension to $24.6 million, and then it goes back up to $27 million. Again, another deal that is going to be perfectly tradable, reasonable for a guy who's like a mid-rotation wing who can play on both ends of the court. If you want to move that deal because you think you're getting too expensive, I think you'll be able to do it fairly easily. Those 2 out years also, Cornette, partial guarantee and then non-guarantee. Like, the cap sheet is set up just fine. I think what you said about them trying to sort of middle things and straddle 2 eras and how they're the only team that has successfully done that, I wrote about that a few years ago when the Warriors were on their whole 2 timelines plan and about whether they would actually be able to do it. I wrote about that at 538 and how essentially the Spurs had like a 17-year run of inner circle contention because Tim Duncan was just that good, and then they were able to successfully pass the torch twice.
Yes.
And then, you know, and obviously at the start of that, they had David Robinson as well. But most other teams, you get like, you know, your 2, 3, 4, 5 year run, and then it takes you a while to get back into contention. The Spurs, like you said, are the only team that successfully passed the torch multiple times, and it seems like they're going to at least try to do that again.
Yeah, and I think that's where they're at, and I think that's a good thing there. Not the only extension that was signed. You know, another coach got himself an extension.
And this one didn't even have to have the Knicks reach out to his team to get him. He just got the extension.
Yeah, Joe Mazzulla signed a multi-year deal. I haven't seen. Has the details been put out there?
I haven't seen them. I would assume it's pretty long term. Like he got a 3 or 4 year deal to coach for 2 seasons. So.
Yeah, I would imagine it's somewhere minimum probably a 5-year deal in terms of the extension for him. You tap on this is going to be probably a gap year for them this season. You're looking at the way it goes. You're like, okay, it is what it is. This season, but you want to kind of keep your guy in the fold. I think that's I like it. Good for the Celtics. Good for Joe. He's a good coach. I have my qualms. He's also weird as hell, but that's not what my qualms are. But I have my qualms with his actual coaching from time to time. I think he actually actively hurt them in the Celtics-Knicks series, but that's for another time to discuss. Good deal. Like, I don't feel like there was anything like, yeah, cool, good stuff, smart move.
Yeah, he's a young coach. He's a good coach. He has a clear philosophy that the Celtics clearly buy into. I think you're going to see maybe the purest distillation of his philosophy ever this coming year. They are going to shatter their record for 3-point attempt rate that they just set last year. When you look at every single player they brought in this year,
right.
All they do is shoot a ton of threes. Like, they just moved for Chris Boucher too, who for a big man takes an absolute metric ton of threes. Anthony Simons, they brought in Luka Garza, Josh Minot, and all these guys that take an absolute ton of threes for their position. So they're just going to drive up the variance as much as possible without Jason Tatum. And clearly that's part of the organizational philosophy anyway. Like you said, I did think it worked against them a little bit in that Knicks series where they just weren't willing to attack often enough. And they were, instead of creating threes, they were settling for threes. Like, when you hear on TV they're settling for threes, that just means they're taking threes. But the Celtics in that series actually were settling for threes because they were just taking them and not, driving to the basket to create that drive, kick, swing opportunity to get good threes. They were just kind of taking them. So it did work against them a little bit. We're going to see, I would imagine, even more of that this year. But that's because they're going to be at a talent deficit for the first time in, several years at least. But young coach, good coach, clear philosophy that the organization very obviously adheres to. To me, it's kind of a no-brainer deal to extend him.
Yeah. Nothing. Sorry, folks. There's not a lot going on. There's nothing to add on this one either. There's no spice in this situation.
You know what? There was some spice because the New York Post framing of this deal was something along the lines of Celtics extend Mazzulla after playoff flop.
I love that. That's great.
Won a title 14 months ago.
Playoff. Only as good as what you've done for me lately, buddy. You're only as good as your last game. All of that. So, hey, man, that's fantastic. And also, New York Post eventually going to have the Los Angeles Post. I'm so looking forward to having that here on my coast.
The Post is good for puns, and
that's about it.
That's about enough of what I have to say about the New York Post.
So we'll leave it there with that, so we don't get into more trouble. We did get some news, some stuff. This is the time of year where the schedule starts to kind of slowly leak out. The NBA.
Excited, by the way, about the multi-day rollout of the schedule release this year. It's going to be released piecemeal over the course of apparently 15 days or whatever.
It's comical in the sense of the NBA doing this because we know the NFL schedule release matters. It's because there's so few games in the schedule, right? For the NFL, so they can kind of do that. So they try to mimic it. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about. Just release it all. I don't mind that they announced, or not that they announced. Shams reported opening day and Christmas Day games. I don't mind that was reported. But then, after that, come on, just let's go. Just put it all out in one day. Get the cycle going. You don't need to make this a 15-day extravaganza that nobody cares about.
Yeah, I don't know if it's actually 15 days. I made that part up, but
the sad part, Jared, is that I believed it, and that's kind of the way I feel like sometimes the NBA chases these things.
Yeah, they chase the NFL, like you said, where the NFL rolls it out over the course of a week. We're going to announce this on CBS this morning, and we're going to announce this on Good Morning America, and we're going to announce this on fucking Fox News. Like, it's just give us the schedule. They're all playing 82 games, with the exception of which Eastern Conference teams are playing each other 3 or 4 times, and which Western Conference teams are playing each other 3 or 4 times. We know who is playing who. The only thing we don't know is exactly when and where. Like, I understand somewhat the marquee games where you announce, or Shams reports, these are the opening night games and these are the Christmas games. But other than that, and I guess you could do like the Martin Luther King Day games.
Yeah.
There's obviously a lot of games during the day and pretty much all day basketball that day. But those are the marquee dates that the NBA has. Other than that, I don't think we need to do it this way.
Yeah, we don't need to stretch it out. But let's just start with opening day. You know, we get the 2 games on opening day. It's Houston going to Oklahoma City for ring night. Kevin Durant will be in the gym when they raise the banner. He just won't be wearing an Oklahoma City jersey. It's not his banner that they will be raising. And then we have the old fogies, the Los Angeles Lakers and the Golden State Warriors playing the second game. And this is the NBC game. This is the NBA returns to NBC game, if I'm not mistaken. These two, NBC. Yeah. That opening day is going to be on NBC. How do you feel about it, Jared? What's your? I already know how you feel about the second. We haven't talked, but I already know how you feel about the second one just by the big sigh you took.
Yeah. The first, I absolutely love sending the Rockets to Oklahoma City for the first game. Like, that is so perfect. KD and OKC. Obviously, the Rockets are either the top contender or the second contender to Oklahoma City's throne, depending on how you feel about them and the Nuggets. Like, that should be a fantastic game. You're going to get absolutely elite defense. You're going to get, obviously, some of the best players in the league, some of the best young players in the league, future stars, current stars. Like, that is exactly what you want from the first game of the season. It's going to be awesome. And the second game is just, to me, kind of a missed opportunity. Like, I understand you want to get the monster ratings of LeBron versus Steph on the first night of the season on NBC, but you could have Victor Wembanyama in that game, or you could have
okay. What would have been your second game?
I probably would have had like Spurs Nuggets.
Okay, so like just going completely. Let's just go no ratings. Just completely no ratings.
It's about basketball. I want to see Wemby against Jokic or Timberwolves Nuggets. A rematch of the playoff series that have been so good over the last few years.
So I'm probably of the minority. I actually think this works with Lakers.
They're going to get monster.
They're going to get monster.
Lakers are both going to be pretty good teams. LeBron, Luka, Steph, Jimmy Butler, Draymond, all the rivalry, like all the pageantry. It's going to be good.
The only
it's an opportunity to have on this first night on NBC, put the guys that are going to be the future of the league on TV.
Well, I think we're going to get that hopefully through the course of the season. And that's the part of the schedule, at least I'm most interested in, is the national TV schedule, because I want to know where the league thinks a lot of their talent lies and all that stuff. But I think opening night, I want to see Steph. I want to see LeBron. And I want to see Luka. Okay? I want to see that stuff in that regard. I'm not ready to move San Antonio right into that opening night thing. We don't know if they're good enough. Okay, so Denver would have been Denver OKC would have actually probably been a better matchup to me than Houston OKC, just because Denver is the other team that took them to a 7-game series. You're obviously not going to bring Indiana in knowing what happened with Tyrese Halliburton and kind of their expectation for the season. Not how you're going to want to pump up opening night. But I don't mind that you have literally your biggest stars can carry this. And I get it. Ratings don't matter. And let's just be honest in general. Ratings don't matter. They don't matter.
For the next 10 years.
Right. They don't. And I think that's an important thing. But I also think you want to give the people what they want to watch. And I think it's weird to not have LeBron on opening night and Steph not on opening night. I do think that part would be a bit weird. The other thing I found fascinating with this, and we're going to get more into it when we talk about the Christmas Day game, no Eastern Conference team.
That's what I was about to bring up. The NBA, justifiably, is just totally out on the Eastern Conference. I believe there are only 2 Eastern Conference teams playing on Christmas. Knicks and Cavs in the first game, and everything else is the Western Conference. They want no part, because the other quote-unquote exciting and good teams in the Eastern Conference are like Orlando and Atlanta and Detroit. And from the NBA's perspective, nobody cares about the Southeast Division. It's been the worst division of all time for basically my entire life. And you don't know 100% that the Pistons are going to be as good as they were last year. You don't even know about the Hawks or Magic.
There's a lot of question marks. It's all question marks. It's all question marks in the East besides those top teams. So we talked about Christmas Day game. Cleveland, New York will start us off, which is New York always gets that slot.
If the Knicks aren't terrible, they are going to be playing in that first Christmas game or the second Christmas game, depending on if there's another team that could host the first one.
Yeah. And then we have San Antonio versus Oklahoma City as the second game. Then you have Houston coming to the LA to play the Lakers. You have Dallas at Golden State, and then Minnesota at Denver. I mean, this is exactly as you said. The NBA just going the East isn't very good. We'll give you 4 Western Conference matchups across the board. Any qualms with this one, or did you feel like anybody was left out? Did you mad there's no Giannis? For Milwaukee, is there anybody that you feel like team-wise that, hey, this team should have been in there and this would have been a fun, better Christmas Day matchup?
Yeah, I don't know about Dallas necessarily. Kyrie's not going to be playing in that game,
No.
I understand Cooper Flag, number 1 pick, but it's not like the number 1 pick plays on Christmas every year. The Spurs didn't play on Christmas in Wemby's rookie year, right?
Right.
They got there last year. They played the Knicks in that first game last year. Once we knew that he actually was the alien that we all knew that he was going to be, you could move somebody else into that slot. I understand the NBA protecting themselves on the Giannis and the Bucks thing. Doesn't look like he's getting traded, but the NBA can't suddenly have nobody playing.
That would be tough.
The Celtics are not themselves. No Jason Tatum. The Pacers are not themselves. No Tyrese Halliburton. Those teams clearly would have been an option to play on Christmas. You probably would have had those first 2 games would have involved those 2 teams and the Knicks and Cavs in some order, right? You mix up those matchups however you want, and you probably would have gotten 2 games out of those, but you don't have them anymore. And again, there are question marks. I think Orlando is going to be good. I think Atlanta is going to be good. I think Detroit's going to be good. But you don't necessarily, at least from the NBA's perspective, put them on your marquee day of the year because it's entirely possible that the Hawks come into that game and they're 12-14.
You're right. It's dangerous in that sense. This is a safe schedule with that. Minus Dallas. I think I would have subbed Dallas out and brought the Clippers in.
Yeah. Maybe
it would have been the other Western Conference team. I feel like you could have probably brought in and felt like, all right, cool. We're rolling here. But how about Texas getting all 3 of their teams playing on Christmas Day?
If you're going to have Dallas playing, just do Dallas and the Lakers.
Right, and get that. But I do think these matchups are good matchups. They'll be fun games. Assuming Dallas is healthy, even without Kyrie, I still think it'll be pretty interesting, watching, if AD's healthy and how they their big size, how it works against the Warriors will be quite interesting. I just think it's a fun matchup group. I think this is a good one. I kind of wish the Denver game was before Golden State Dallas. That's my only complaint.
Yeah, that is weird that they have the
Nuggets are playing the late game in Denver.
Right, and the Warriors are playing before that in Oakland, or sorry, in San Francisco now. When obviously they're an hour behind. That is a little bit strange. But you know what I like though? I guess it's possible. Usually it's nice when there's one of these games that you get a little break. And
right.
It's I don't know that you have the break game. It might be Dallas. Dallas might not be very good without Kyrie.
Yeah.
It's entirely possible that that's not a particularly good team, and they're going up against a Warriors team that doesn't have Steph or Draymond or Jimmy for whatever reason for a 2-week span.
Yeah, I mean, that could be the game. That could be the break game in everything that when you're watching. Because you're right. There's usually one where it's like, oh, okay, I can chill for this game. And I think that'll be interesting. The fun part, and I'm going to throw this wrinkle at you, and, curveball that we didn't discuss. It is up against the NFL. Dallas at Washington, Detroit at Minnesota, Denver at KC. Last year, I just put it up on my iPad.
Yeah.
The NFL games, and then watched the NBA games on the TV. Obviously, I work focused on the NBA, so that's going to be my main priority. It's been fun with the NFL saying, like, we're taking over Christmas too. I didn't think the Christmas Day games were good last
year. They weren't. This year, that seems like they tried to get better games on. We'll see. I will say that the early window for me is going to be very stressful. With I'm a fan of the teams that my dad likes, so I am both a Knicks fan and a Cowboys fan. So those two teams are going to be playing at the exact same time, and so the Cowboys against Jaden Daniels, the Broncos against Patrick Mahomes, the Lions and the Vikings, who were the two best teams in the league during the regular season last year. So it's a lot to be watching at the same time. And last year, I covered the NFL for CBS as well. I was not on I have to be working that day on Christmas last year. So hopefully we can get the same thing again, where I can sort of have the basketball games here and have the football games here, and not necessarily have to devote my full attention.
Yeah, so we'll see how it plays out and how that stuff goes. I know that's always an undercurrent running through it, and we're at the point of the season where we don't have anything to talk about. Eurobasket's coming, folks. Afrobasket starts. I don't think anybody really cares about Afrobasket. I'm just checking to see if Libya does well. They won't. They'll get knocked out very early. But just hoping. But that's all we kind of really have news-wise, right? Like, is there anything really to kind of get into?
The Knicks hiring 14 more assistant coaches over the last 2 months.
I will tell you this. Brendan O'Connor, who they took from the Clippers, is a good coach. That's a good hire from them.
Yeah, we talked about that one, I think, last week.
Did we? Okay.
He was with the Lakers. He was with the Hornets. He was with Mike Brown back in the day in Cleveland. They just hired somebody else today that I saw a brief report of earlier, but I can't remember exactly who it was. But yeah, it's slow news week because it's August and everybody goes on vacation in the NBA in August, and that's just kind of what it is. We're sitting here talking about games that aren't going to happen for 2 months and then 4.5 months, because that's what counts as NBA news these days. What's your favorite of the 5 Christmas games, I guess, by the way?
I think my favorites, I'm partial to San Antonio, Oklahoma City, just because I think the comeback, but I think OKC's just so good. I think Lakers, Houston have a chance to be a really, really fun one. KD versus LeBron, watching the Rockets defense, and then Luka trying to figure that stuff out. Assuming we get all these matchups that we're hopefully going to get. Like, I think those are the two that I think are great. And to be honest, Cleveland, New York is going to be really good too. Like, that's probably going to be your two favorites in the East off the bat. Like,
none of the Knicks Cavs games were particularly good last year because the Knicks couldn't beat any of the top 3 teams in the league until they played Boston in the playoffs. But I was about to talk about the Lakers-Rockets game and totally omit KD because I completely forgot that he's there already. Even though we just talked about how he's going to be there on opening night against the Thunder. But Luka being guarded by Amen Thompson, LeBron and KD maybe guarding each other. Who knows? That would be incredible. Another showdown between those two guys. I know I just said we don't need to see LeBron and Steph for the millionth time, but
yeah, see, you get sucked in, you get pulled in, Jared.
There's more to it with the Rockets.
Yeah. Well, I think it'll be fun. I think we'll have some good stuff there. I think it's a good slate of games. They did a good job with that. That's a good slate of games with what you have, knowing the situation in the Eastern Conference and the question marks that you have with a lot of other teams. Kind of had the punt on the East this season.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Like, eventually, you would think at some point, it's been like 20 years, you would think that the East can somehow get better, and it just never happens.
Well, I mean, the West keeps getting the top picks over and over again in the draft.
Like we talked about this after the lottery, where the East has actually gotten the top pick more times, but the West keeps getting it when it's like the true, this is the generational can't miss prospect, and the East keeps getting it when it's not that. Like in the last 3 years, it's been Wemby and Cooper Flagg go to the West, and Zachary Risachet, who it seems like is going to be a nice player at least,
but he's not those guys, and I think that's kind of the situation. I mean, we can go back a while with a lot of guys, but it's just funny, man. Like, it's just funny, but that's the way it goes. It's the way the NBA rocks sometimes. It's cyclical. There'll be a run at some point when the West will suck. I don't know when.
Will there?
At some point. It has to happen. At some point.
Free agents seem to migrate from East to West also, right? Like, because the West has all of, like, the warm weather teams, and the East has all of the cold weather teams. And, players like being in good weather cities that are good for, rich young people, and there are more of those in the Western Conference than there are in the
East. You would assume that would have worked well for Miami at this point, but besides once before,
it's really too bad that Pat Riley keeps striking out. Like, I feel so bad for him.
Your Pat hate is showing again. I think that's enough for today. I don't think we needed a long podcast to get through everything. Jared, do you have anything coming down the pipeline?
Yeah, Last Nine Basketball, last9basketball.com. I will have more of the Where Are We Going series about the teams that I am very confused about. Have a couple more of those coming later this week. And then once we get into September, which is only a couple weeks away, I'll have the Three Things NBA preview series where I appropriate the three things I noticed on League Pass, and I just go three things that I've noticed or am interested in or want to see happen with every team in the league that I'll do, division by division, going through that as we lead up to the season over like the 6 weeks before the season starts.
That's perfect. And folks, we will hopefully be back next week. Hopefully we'll have some signings of restricted free agents done.
The restricted free agents, my God. Like, Jonathan Kuminga, are you taking the qualifying offer? Are you taking this 1+1?
He's going to
traded at some point?
He cannot take this 1+1. We discussed it, but he cannot take this 1+1. He should fire his agent if he does. But not just him. Josh Giddey, Quentin Grimes, Cam Thomas. Like, we'll see these guys get like one under the radar story that nobody ever seems to talk about. Who's buying the Portland Trail Blazers? Nobody knows if anybody's ever going to buy them. That team's still up for sale with all that stuff. Maybe if we get making a lot of money off this podcast, Jared and I will buy them. Who knows? But I think that's it for us today. Thank you so much for rocking with us. Make sure you're checking out the YouTube channel. Subscribe on YouTube. Give us likes, reviews. Again, keep it going on the podcast. 5-star reviews. Please, we're trying to get it up to 500. Keep the party rocking there. And thank you for listening to the Double Dribble Podcast. By the Blazers.
Vehicle.